that we are planting seeds, nothing more. So I invite you to join me just for a moment, if you will, and cup your hands together and think about seeds being there. Imagination is just as powerful as the reality. So we have seeds. What kinds of seeds are we planting? So I'm thinking of my seeds, and you think of your seeds. Let's focus on those seeds and send them love and life and detachment. Seeds. All right, now we're going to scatter the seeds. Are you ready? All right, we are planting seeds. Whatever grows will grow. Whatever fails will fail. Whatever soars will soar. We are planting seeds. Nothing more. So do you know what this is? It's not a test. You can't read it from there, but some of you may actually own this. This is a hair product. It's from Avita. The name of it is Pure Abundance. Did you know they could bottle that stuff? So I'm going to talk a little about multitasking in just a little while, but first I'm going to give you an example. So yesterday I was getting ready to come here for the Bard's performance of The Tempest. It was fabulous. All these little children, some of them I could not understand what they were saying, but their facial expressions and their gestures were so big and beautiful. I knew the story. If I didn't already know the story, I would know what was happening. They were fabulous, and some of these were kindergartners. Lucy Sunshine was here, and she was so cute, and her little dress, that she was loving that dress, it was obvious. Pulling up the skirt and dancing. I don't know if that part was coached or not. It was glorious. So if you haven't seen it yet, it's one more showing this afternoon, 2:30. So I'm getting ready yesterday to come to this, and I realize I'm a little early. So this thing says in the small print, very, very small print, shake well for thinning hair. It wasn't always like this, but you know, things change. Planting seeds, nothing more. And so it says use on wet hair or dry hair. So I thought, oh, this is a chance. We need to do something. So I started spraying this. Like this, I separated my hair off into little sections, and I sprayed it in different places so I could have more body like that. And then I realized I still had several minutes before I needed to go. So I thought, well, I've been writing these, I hope no one's allergic to that scent. I've been writing these affirmations about the topic today, I am the presence of God, and I thought, well, I'll go back and finish those up and get those printed. And then when I sat down to the computer, I decided, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have more affirmations that say, I am the light of God, and I am the love of God. And I already had the ones about, I am the power of God. And so I went ahead and I sat down at the computer and I started writing more. And then I realized, oh yeah, I've been working on this crochet project. I've been designing something that Kristen asked for Lucy. And I thought I was really inspired. So I got up from the computer and I went over to my crochet project and I started working on that a little bit. And then I realized I hadn't seen the last 2 episodes of Will and Grace. So I turned that on. I'm crocheting and Will and Grace. And then Tinkerbell said, you know, it's time. And so I thought, well, she's going to need to go out again before we go. So I hooked her leash. We went outside to one of her favorite spots. She took care of business. We came back in, and I thought, where was I? Oh, it's time to go. So I picked up my bag and my stuff, and I'm dressed, and all right, I got on earrings. All right, so off I went like this. Nobody said anything. I came into the vestibule out here, and Jeff and Kristen were sitting there, and I said hello, and I hugged them. They didn't say, "You look weird." But I didn't even know. I didn't remember until I found my front row seat right here, and I sat here waiting for the play, and then I thought, something feels weird. And I did this, and I thought, oh, expletive. I never combed my hair. So I just did this. How's that for the video? Will that work? So I just did this, and I realized I've been living with the idea of caring less about what other people think of me and more about planting seeds. And so I had a nice little experience. And so instead of panicking when I was sitting there, I just started to laugh. And it wasn't until this morning when I picked up this little bottle that I noticed that the title is Pure Abundance. And I thought, how apropos. So today, we're talking about the presence of God. And so I invite you, just as we did the last time I shared with you, each time I affirm I am the presence of God, I invite you to respond with that same affirmation. So let's practice, I am the presence of God. Thank you. Great. So each Sunday after our service and many other events at Unity, we affirm our prayer for protection. And I think it's particularly apropos today because of this being Veterans Day weekend. James Dillard Freeman wrote this prayer many years ago, and he wrote it for soldiers who were going off to fight in the Second World War. Our prayer for protection. James Dillard Freeman, poet laureate of Unity, he was with us on this side of the veil way past when I was in seminary. He passed away in 2002 or 3, which doesn't really matter. What matters is this poem is timeless, particularly for this weekend. And we affirm it each Sunday. And what does it mean? One of the things that Reverend Charles began is using what he calls a call and response version of this prayer. We affirm the light of God surrounds us. And then what do we respond with? I am the light of God. And so what that does for us is it moves our perspective of the idea of God from out there to in here. So what does it mean to be the presence of God? When I affirm I am the presence of God, what does that mean to me? Well, first, with any affirmation, anything that we affirm, when we declare it, what happens in our unconscious, our subconscious, is that anything that is unlike that will come up, like coming off to an event without combing my hair. I am the presence of God. Well, God, thank you. Sometimes God looks like this, all right? Sometimes that's what God looks like because as we have heard affirmed, is it Eckhart Tolle? Barry will let me know for sure. We are God pouring God into God. It's all God, right? Not only is the presence of God all around us, you are the presence of God. I am the presence of God. I am the presence of God. So next, after I affirm that and I notice the things that come up that argue with me, the presence of God does not go out without combing her hair, and it comes up. The presence of God does not forget to fill up your gas tank, okay? The presence of God watches over me. The presence of God watches and makes sure that my checking account does not have to dip into my savings account because I wrote too many checks. The presence of God, okay, so I get to judge myself, or I get to be gentle with myself and know that it's God pouring God into God. This is Unity's first and second principles. The first principle being there is one presence and one power, God. God's nature is good and goodness. And the second principle being I am the expression of God. And our template, our example for that expression of God is Jesus, the Christ, our way shower, master teacher. So when we affirm, I am the presence of God, we are affirming Unity's first principle and second principle. So that idea of the call and response version is about changing our perspective, adjusting our perspective from God out there to God in here. And that, as I say that, I realize that it sounds like I'm saying it's an either-or situation, and it isn't. It is God out there, and it is God in here. It is God everywhere. So, when we have opportunities to judge ourselves, how many of us, as the presence of God, have made purchases sometimes on impulse that we eventually have to return? Some of that's coming up soon with all the Christmas purchasing, holiday purchasing that goes on. I had 2 packages to return this weekend, and I noticed that the post office was closed a lot. So, yes, it's a holiday. So there's a report from Philadelphia that when the 1976 bicentennial was going on, the people in Philadelphia thought they would try something. So they contacted the Whitechapel Foundry that they discovered created the Liberty Bell, that you remember it cracked the first time they rung it, right? That this is still in business. So they communicated with Whitechapel Foundry and said that they wanted to return the Liberty Bell because it had cracked, and they wanted to return it. And the company responded back that they were happy to take the bell back and replace it with another bell as long as they returned it in the original packaging. So, one of the things that we do often, that you heard me talk about, was we multitask. And one of the ways that we can experience being the presence of God is mindfulness. Mindfulness. What is mindfulness? It is no matter what I am doing just that. If I am styling my hair, that is all I'm doing. If I am writing affirmations to share, that is all I'm doing. If I'm taking care of my little dog, that is all I'm doing. And I tell you, I am working at about a C- on mindfulness. Mindfulness, and it is my intention to, because I got in touch with this as I'm working with this idea, to be more mindful, because I am the presence of God. I am the presence of God. Mindfulness is the reason that I'm sharing the prayer for protection, our prayer for protection, because how many of us for many years, some of us are newer at this than others, how many of us for many years have affirmed these words: the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us, wherever we are, God is. We've been affirming this for years. I guess for me it started in the 80s. And how many of us gave very much thought to that after we memorized it? How many of us gave very much thought to Psalm 23 after we memorized it? What does it mean to me? And that's what unity invites us to do. It invites us to look at everything in our lives. Those things we've embraced as habit, to look at those and examine it and find what it means to me. What does it mean to me? And there's another layer of the presence of God, and that is when we affirm the presence of God watches over us. The other layer is that we are able to be present for other people. Now, this does not mean that we see other people and we notice things in them that are wrong or off or need to be fixed. This means that we notice other people, we have compassion for their human experience because we have had similar experiences, and we hold thoughts of wholeness, having faith with them that they are moving through this experience. Someone may come to me and they may ask me, Terry, you seem to have a positive attitude all the time. What is your secret? That is not, they are not asking me to proselytize. They are not asking me to be an evangelist for unity. They are just making a general question, and what they really want, I believe, from my experience, is they want me to listen. And so I simply ask another question. Thank you for noticing, and what else do you mean by that? And what they're going to say is they're going to share things in their lives, things that are going on where it's a challenge for them to hold a positive attitude. And that's an opportunity for us to not share what unity has done for us and means to us, but it's an opportunity for us to be there with them and say, I hear you. I'm holding wholeness with you. I'm with you in this. Is there anything that I can do or say for you? If they want to know more about this path, they pretty much know what we do and where we go. And they have all the power in them, because each of them is the power of God. Each of them is the presence of God. They have everything they need to find out what they need to find out. How many of us have been given advice? Yeah, right. How many of us have been called on to give advice? How many of us have given unsolicited advice? Oh, yeah. 2 hands up. Right. Well, they say the only vice is advice, and the schoolgirls report on Socrates. Socrates was a very great man. He gave many people good advice. They poisoned him. So, unless someone specifically asks me, it is my intention. I don't always do it, all right? It is my intention to plant seeds. It is my intention to be the presence of God. So, on a practical level, we move God out there. No, we don't move God. We don't move God. Okay, I'm going to edit myself here. I expand my attention. There was a time in my life when I thought only of God out there. And at this time of my life, I know that God is out there and God is in here. And so I expand my attention. You can affirm with me if you recall it or not. If you choose to, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This for me reminds me that I am the presence of God. I am the presence of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. The presence of God reminds me to stay awake, to stay conscious. It reminds me to be mindful. It reminds me to be compassionate. And it reminds me to be responsible, that I am planting seeds, nothing more. So together, I am the presence of God and I am awake. I am the presence of God and I am awake. We'll close with prayer. We are planting seeds, and in this moment of prayer, in my heart, I know what seeds I plant. And I am opening my heart to notice other seeds that I plant. And some of the seeds that I have planted, I have regrets about, and that's all right. I know more now. I have dived deeper into my soul now. And now it is my intention to plant seeds of light and love and power and presence. And so it is. Amen.